Hey, badass business owners, you probably noticed I wasn't here last week. And honestly, I almost didn't do today. But let me tell you why. Because I haven't missed a single podcast side of it in, wow, probably 6 years. But I actually had a good excuse and I want to kind of go over that right now. But I've got some good business things to attach to it. You see, about a month ago, my mother went in for open heart surgery, and they had to basically cut her open to be able to fix one of her valves. And she was in the hospital. Now, she was there for about a week, and I pretty much was living up at the hospital with her, but I was able to get a lot of work done in between stuff. Not the ideal situation, but I was able to get some work done and was able to work around it because at that time, because of the type of surgery she had constant monitoring through the hospital with the nurses and the doctors and whatnot because, you know, they were taking it very seriously with what had happened. And overall, we experienced some really good customer service during that time frame. Could it have been better? You know, maybe some parts, maybe, and it wasn't that they were bad. I would probably give them a 4-star out of 5-star for some of the different people that saw her, and others 5-star or even 6 because they went above and beyond. For example, there was this one nurse right when she came out of the surgery, she had to stay with my mom for I want to say 7 hours straight because she still was intubated. And my mom's biggest fear was having that intubation. And I had to stay by her side to keep her calm and all these different things. And this nurse was basically living in there with us because she had to constantly watch my mom. And that lady was amazing. She was so good with my mom when she would come out and be disoriented and everything else. So great customer service. Well, anyways, about a week later, my mom was sent home. And then about another week later, my mom's legs blew up, and it started not only blowing up her legs, her thighs, moved up to her stomach, and eventually around her heart. And about 10 days ago, we ended up back in the hospital. Last time, I was able to knock out an episode before I ran up to the hospital, like I said. But this time on that, she went in on a Friday this last time. And when it came time for me to do the normal recording over the couple of days that I have options, it just wasn't feasible. I had to be up there because my mother was very disoriented from what was going on. And the care was a little bit different because, yes, she was a heart patient. And yes, she was being monitored because of the way she was acting. It was best that she wasn't alone. And therefore, I, for the most part, have been living up there for the last 10 days or so. But it really got me thinking because being a business-minded person and doing my business while I was up there, it was interesting to watch because, like I said, it's a fantastic hospital and they really do a good job. And I had to laugh, though, because it completely changed from the first few days to the last few days. In the very beginning, when I was to say customer service-wise, we saw so many doctors because everybody was trying to figure out why she couldn't breathe because her lungs weren't necessarily compromised, but it turned out that they were monitoring the water around her heart because it was making it really hard. And with her heart just having open heart surgery, it already wasn't pumping the way it should because it was still recovering and healing and everything else. So we saw lots of doctors, lots of nurses. The whole 10 days, I think we were in 5 different rooms, and that was just in the first 4 days because of them kept moving her to different things. And eventually they decided they needed to do surgery to get the water off of her heart. And then, you know, my mom, like I said, started having some different complications and some different things where I had to be up there a lot. And unfortunately, I couldn't do this, do the podcast and whatnot. But I started thinking about the customer service while I was in there because there were times when I thought, these people are amazing. The service that they're giving, how they're staying on top of everything, the way they're explaining information. I would give them a 10 out of 10, 5 stars out of 5 when it comes to taking the time to explain what they're doing or answering questions and everything else. And I was really impressed with that. But when you're there through shift changes and stuff, there was an area that I thought was really interesting because and I've noticed it in other stays where I've been in hospitals, either whether it was for myself or for other family members. And that was, you have this nurse who's with you for 12 hours because they do 12-hour shifts, right? And then they have the shift change usually about 7 o'clock. Well, you have somebody who's already struggling and don't want to be there and all these different things. And I had to laugh because when 7 o'clock came, they were usually there till about 8 because they have the shift change, right? They got to do the paperwork. They got to switch over. But what I found fascinating is how rarely the nurse would come in and say, hey, I'm going to be leaving now and I'm turning you over to so-and-so who's going to have you for the rest of the night. I'm going home. I'll see you tomorrow, or, hope you have a good thing. I won't be here tomorrow, whatever the case may be. But rarely was there ever like a handoff. So you would have these people that were fantastic. I couldn't knock them. I mean, during their 12-hour shift, they were amazing. They were great. They were awesome. But yet they never said goodbye. And I just thought, when somebody's already at one of their lowest points and they're not feeling that good, that it's kind of like this person disappears and a new face shows up. And what a simple little tweak would really make a difference in the eyes of the patient. Matter of fact, on one day actually 2 days, we had a brand spanking new nurse who was in her rotation mirroring another nurse, and she's going to be really good. She's going to be fantastic. I think she's going to make an excellent nurse. And I started telling her, going, hey, I think you're going to be a fantastic nurse, and I think that, I wish you the best, but can I just give one piece of advice that's not necessarily you, but it's something that I've noticed would really set you apart from a lot of the other nurses. And I was telling her about this handoff, and she thanked me for that because she had never really thought of it that way. And I said, I know it doesn't necessarily work if you've got 10, 12 patients that you're doing, but in critical care units where she's at, they usually have 2 to 3 patients at any given time, and 5 extra minutes just to say hi and goodbye to people, or even do it before the shift change, before they go home, just to say, hey, next person you're going to see is so-and-so, and I'll be here for another half hour if you need anything, but otherwise this is going to be the last time you see me, kind of a thing. I just think that would make such a difference from a customer service standpoint. Now, another thing that really stood out from service is, remember I told you when we first got there, we were seeing so many doctors. I've never been in a hospital, never mind the ER side when we first started, but never have I seen so many doctors in the beginning. I mean, she was seeing anywhere from 3 to 5 doctors a day for the first 4 days. And then after the surgery, it kind of started petering down. And then eventually they took her out of ICU to go into a regular room before they took out the chest tube and some other things. But then it changed. We literally did not see a doctor for 3 days. They were doing everything from behind the scenes. And the poor nurses were stuck having to answer our questions. And by this time, my mother wanted out. She was done. They weren't changing anything. We couldn't figure out why she had to stay. They kept saying one of her numbers had to come up, but yet they weren't doing anything therapeutic to get that number up. And I was getting very frustrated from my standpoint because I understood she needed to be there to get that number up, but where I was frustrated is the fact that nobody was making a change to her treatment plan and what needed to be done to be able to get that number up. Because if you keep doing the same thing, definition of insanity, right? Nothing's going to change, and it didn't change. And finally, before the very last day, we got a hold of somebody who just was relentless. This nurse was relentless on getting somebody that was going to come talk to us to go over, could we do the rest of the care at home and then follow up, because we already had the follow-up appointments all set up, or what did she need so that we could get her out the next day? And she was wonderful. But it was really interesting to watch the different levels of customer service while at the hospital. And like I said, overall, I would give the entire experience a 4.5. The doctors in the beginning, 5+, but towards the end, it really did suck. The final doctor that did come in and sat and talked to us and told him I give him a thumbs up. I mean, he did his homework. He understood my mom's heart condition. It wasn't necessarily his specialty, but he was a general kind of a doctor who was in charge of people being able to go home. And by now it's a Saturday and there's nobody that we can talk to. But he did a lot of work and research and answered some questions and then basically told us what we needed to do so that way my mom could get out. And I give him a thumbs up because he was fantastic when he was able to jump in and be able to help get us resolved with our problem that we were having with this treatment plan and getting her out of the hospital. So overall, like I said, I think nurses are wonderful. I think they're amazing. Could I rank them, the different ones that we had? Because obviously we saw a lot of nurses and CNAs over the 10 days that we were there. Absolutely. Would I say any of them were horrible? No, not at all. Every single one of them, you could tell, had a level of what they believed in why they were in the healthcare. We talked to a lot of them, asked them why they were doing it. We had ranges of somebody that was doing it for 30 years, all the way up to, or down to, whichever way it goes, down to the lady I was telling you about who had just got out of nursing school. And this hospital does a fantastic job of hiring nurses. They were all fantastic. Their level of knowledge was different. I would say Their gentleness could have been improved on a couple of them. They were great at what they did and they knew what they were doing, but man, they were rough handling at times, or they weren't necessarily as sensitive. And I noticed there was a big difference when my mother was awake and when she was under sedation with some of that as well. But overall, I wouldn't say anybody was, mean or doing it mean-spirited. I just saw, you could see the difference between people that just happened to be better at being gentle with people versus those that weren't. But overall, like I said, it just got me thinking a lot about customer service and why customer service is so important in everything that we do. Because had we left at different times with the experience being that last nurse or that last doctor, it would have changed dramatically. Some people we would have left saying, oh my God, this is amazing. We're going to brag and tell everybody we know. And other people we would have left saying, it was good. All right, it was great. But we weren't going to brag about it. And it really goes to show the difference that somebody's last opinion is really going to be based off of who they saw last. So, for example, in your business, you might give wonderful, fantastic service, but one of your employees just isn't quite up to you. And they might be a little bit less. So they might leave satisfied, but are they going to be as happy as they are with you? Or vice versa. Maybe your employees are amazing, and because you're so busy and you're running around, you kind of phone it in, if you will. You're still good, you're still nice, you still do a good job, but it's not over the top, it's not fantastic. And which impression are they being left at or left with? And I think that was probably the biggest thing that I saw when I was there. But it also allowed me, while I was sitting there, because I was limited on what things I could work on my laptop, because usually I work on a desktop, but it really got me spend some time, because one of the things I'm really trying to do is I am really working on getting even better at bookkeeping, because as you know, I really want you guys to learn your numbers, and I'm really trying to find different ways to help you learn those numbers. And I'm going to dive in, and I'm going to become an expert on some of, like, especially QuickBooks, because that's my number one for people in learning how to get behind the scenes to be able to help walk you guys through a lot more stuff. And then in the middle of it, I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to just start doing bookkeeping as well. Because I think that small business owners like yourselves really need to understand bookkeeping, or at least have somebody that they can trust, because I've seen people's books from other bookkeepers, and I'm just, they're such a mess. And I don't know, I'm like, is this a mess because of the bookkeeper, or is this a mess because the business owner got into it and the bookkeeper didn't know how to fix it? I don't know. But it's just really got me going on a bunch of different things that I want to do to help improve my customer service. Because ultimately my goal is for you guys to learn your business numbers and have the best numbers that you can. So this way you have the information you need to become as profitable as you hope to be. And I just think that's another service that I'm going to start adding on here shortly. So that way we can help get you to where you want to go with your goals for your business, because I'm sure sitting doing your books isn't necessarily one of those. So I'm going to figure out how to jump in there and help take care of that for you guys. But ultimately, this whole thing today was all about customer service and, how do we give better service? I want you to start asking yourself, when people leave you or leave your team or whatever, are they going to put you at a 4-star? Because I believe you guys are trying to give 5-star service. I really do believe that. But ask yourself, are they leaving with 5-star or 4-star? Is there something little that you could tweak to make a difference? So for example, some of those amazing nurses, the only thing that I would say to tweak was just saying goodbye or doing the shift change over to the next person. And it would really just be that one little notch up, because I do think that we all have ways to get even better, no matter how good we are. And it just was a whole 10 days, the last 10 days, and really the last month, if I go from the beginning of the surgery till now, is just really putting a lot of thoughts into customer service. I mean, even down into the cafe, to the cafeteria, to the coffee shops, to everything else. And everybody was fantastic. But if I was to ask myself, hey, what was that customer service? Knowing the mindset of somebody who's in a hospital, whether it's the family member who's in the hospital or if it's the loved ones coming to visit them, and what's in their mindset, and what a difference every single person in that hospital makes to what they're feeling at that moment. And your business is no different, that every time they see you or touch you, they're looking for a certain level of customer service. And if you're solving a problem, they're even more paying attention to that entire thing, because they're sensitive in one way or another about whatever it is that you're solving. So just something to keep in mind. I just thought I would share that. And don't worry, next week we're going to get back to regular content. I put a lot of thought into some of the things that I really want to try to do over the next the year. And we're going to focus even more on your business numbers and how they impact your business every single day and what we can do to help get those profits up for you, those sales up and those profits up for you. It's just a matter of, plotting them out and being able to do them. And hopefully family can stay healthy so I can get some stuff done. But just bear with me. My goal is to continue to give you the tools and the resources you need to be as profitable as you can. Matter of fact, if you check out one of these videos that are over here, I'm sure one of them is going to help you out in your small business. And with that, I'm out of here and I will talk to you next week. Bye for now.